Hello, friends. It's wonderful to have you here again, ready to explore another book that helps us reshape the way we think, act, and move through our lives. Today, we dive into a guide that speaks directly to anyone who has ever felt stuck inside their own mind, overthinking, analyzing, replaying scenarios, and delaying action. Peter Hollins brings us a powerful message in Think Less, Do More. The idea that progress doesn't come from more thinking, it comes from the right kind of thinking, and from the courage to take action even when our minds resist. So, let's begin this journey into a book designed to untangle mental knots and replace hesitation with clarity, confidence, and steady movement forward. Peter Hollins opens Think Less, Do More with a surprising observation. Overthinking is not a sign of intelligence, it is a sign of misused intelligence. The mind that analyzes endlessly, worries constantly, and replays conversations repeatedly is not a mind that lacks power, but one that has not learned how to direct that power. Hollins explains that overthinking is like spinning the wheels of a car stuck in mud. A lot of noise, movement, and energy, but very little progress. He describes how overthinking traps people in cycles of self-doubt, fear of mistakes, and emotional turbulence. The more they analyze, the more unsure they become. The more they try to anticipate every possible outcome, the less capable they are of taking even the smallest step. Hollins uses relatable examples of people who delay decisions, procrastinate tasks, and become overwhelmed by choices that should be simple. The core issue, he explains, is that overthinking disguises itself as preparation, when in reality it is avoidance. Hollins then shifts to the heart of the book. Thinking less is not about shutting down the mind, but about quieting the noise so that productive thought can emerge. The mind must be trained to distinguish between thoughts that help and thoughts that hinder. He argues that clear thinking is a tool, while overthinking is a trap. One of the most powerful ideas Hollins introduces is the concept of cognitive load. The human brain has limited mental bandwidth, and when it becomes overloaded with doubts, fears, and excess analysis, its ability to make decisions collapses. Hollins compares this to a computer running too many programs. It slows down, freezes, and stops functioning properly. Reducing cognitive load, he explains, is the foundation of taking action. When you simplify the mental environment, decisions become easier and movement becomes natural. To illustrate this, Hollins describes the power of mental decluttering, removing unnecessary thoughts, expectations, and imagined outcomes. He gives the example of someone starting a new project. Instead of thinking about the entire project, the timeline, the risks, and the potential failures, the person focuses on the first small step. By narrowing attention, the mind relaxes, clarity returns, and action becomes possible. Another major theme is behavior over emotion. Hollins emphasizes that successful people do not wait to feel motivated. They act regardless of mood. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. He shares stories of athletes, creators, and entrepreneurs who learned to move even when their emotions resisted. Their consistency comes not from passion, but from discipline. The decision to show up, even on difficult days. Hollins also explains how perfectionism fuels overthinking. Perfectionists believe that the right moment, the ideal conditions, or the perfect plan will eventually appear. But perfectionism, he warns, is just fear wearing a mask. Waiting for perfection prevents progress. He illustrates this with examples of writers who never publish, professionals who never apply for new jobs, and creators who never launch their ideas. The reality is simple. Imperfect action beats perfect hesitation every time. To counter perfectionism, Hollins encourages what he calls good enough thinking. This does not mean being careless. It means recognizing when additional analysis adds no real value. Making decisions based on reasonable clarity rather than absolute certainty is the key to momentum. Most decisions in life, he explains, do not require perfection. They just require movement. A recurring idea in the book is the power of constraints. When people have unlimited time, unlimited choices, or unlimited flexibility, they tend to overthink. Constraints, such as deadlines, limited options, or time blocks, reduce complexity and force decisive action. Hollins shares examples of creative professionals who produce more under constraints because limitations sharpen focus and reduce mental noise. Another essential concept is Hollins' breakdown of the overthinking loop, a cycle of fear, avoidance, analysis, and paralysis. When people fear making mistakes, they avoid action. The avoidance leads to more thinking. The thinking produces doubt, and doubt produces paralysis. Hollins explains that breaking this loop requires interrupting the cycle at the level of behavior. Action, any action, disrupts the loop. Hollins also dives into the role of the body in overthinking. He emphasizes that physical movement, breathing patterns, and simple bodily actions influence mental clarity. A walk can break a thought spiral. Changing the environment can reset perspective. Even shifting posture can change emotional state. The mind and body, he argues, operate as a unified system. A major part of the book examines decision-making simplicity. Hollins explains that people often believe decisions require endless comparison and analysis. But in reality, most decisions fall into one of two categories: reversible and irreversible. Reversible decisions are safe to make quickly. They can be changed later. Irreversible ones deserve more thought. But even then, not endless thought. He helps readers understand which decisions require depth and which require speed, freeing them from unnecessary hesitation. Throughout the book, Hollins emphasizes small, consistent action as the ultimate antidote to overthinking. When you act regularly, your brain learns to trust your ability to execute. This trust weakens fear, reduces hesitation, and builds confidence. The more you do, the less you doubt. He concludes with a powerful reminder. You cannot think your way into a new life. You act your way into it. Clear thinking supports action, but only if you use it as a tool, not a barrier. Movement creates clarity. Experience produces knowledge, and momentum dissolves fear. And that brings us to the end of today's journey, friends. Peter Hollins reminds us that life doesn't reward the person who thinks the most, but the person who turns thought into meaningful steps. When we simplify our minds, trust the process, and take small, steady actions, everything around us begins to shift. Now tell me, which book would you like to listen to next? Your suggestions always inspire the next episodes.